Elijah and the Prophets of Baal. Part 1. Mount Carmel Tension. The sun had barely begun its climb over the jagged horizon, painting the desert in harsh, unforgiving light, yet the air was thick with an invisible storm, not of wind or rain, but of fear, defiance, and the simmering anger of men who believed themselves invincible. On one side of the Mount Carmel plateau stood the prophets of Baal, 450 of them, chanting and dancing around altars of wood, shouting to their god, pounding the ground in a frenzy to summon a spark, a sign, anything that would prove their deity's power. And on the other side, alone, yet unshaken, stood Elijah, one man, against hundreds. His eyes burned not with anger, but with a calm certainty that made the others uneasy, though none could yet understand why. Every muscle in his body was poised, not for violence, but for confrontation. His voice, when it came, was quiet, almost eerily so, yet it carried over the plateau like the rumble of an approaching storm. "How long will you waver between two opinions?" he demanded. "If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him." Laughter erupted from the crowd of prophets, crude and cruel. They mocked him, leered at his solitary form, convinced that a simple man's faith could not hope to withstand their overwhelming numbers. Yet beneath their arrogance, a seed of unease had taken root. For even the most hardened doubters sensed that Elijah's calm was not weakness, but a strange, unsettling strength. Hours passed. The prophets of Baal danced and cried out, their ritual growing frantic, blood and sweat staining the altar stones, their cries growing louder, higher, desperate. From morning to midday, nothing stirred. Elijah watched silently, the faintest hint of wind lifting his cloak, a silent witness to the gathering tension. His lips moved only once, barely audible to the wind. "Call louder. Perhaps your God is deep in thought, or busy, or sleeping, or traveling. Maybe he's speaking or traveling. Maybe he's asleep and must be awakened." By noon, the crowd was frantic. Their desperation was palpable, their confidence crumbling under the invisible weight of a force they could not see. Elijah's presence alone had shifted the battlefield. He did not compete with noise or fury, but waited, steady and unyielding, for a moment that would shock the world. And that moment, invisible yet unavoidable, was approaching.
Part 2. The Silence of Baal. The prophets of Baal grew louder, their cries echoing off the rocks of Mount Carmel like the howls of wounded beasts. They slashed their arms with blades, letting blood stream down their skin, hoping sacrifice would stir their god to action. Their voices, hoarse and breaking, cried out until they were nothing but guttural screams, each one swallowed by the pitiless desert wind. Dust rose from their frantic stumping, filling the air with choking grit. The spectacle, meant to inspire awe, began to unravel into madness. Flailing limbs, wide eyes, and bloodied bodies, all spiraling into chaos. And yet, silence answered them. Silence that grew heavier with every passing second, pressing down like an invisible hand. The onlookers, Israelites who had once trembled at the power of Baal's priests, shifted uneasily. Whispers cut through the crowd. Why does Baal not answer? Why does nothing happen? Elijah stood unmoving, a figure of sharp contrast against the frenzied horde. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. His silence was thunder enough. When he finally stepped forward, the prophets froze mid-dance, their breaths ragged, their bodies trembling from exhaustion. Elijah's voice rang out, clear as steel cutting through fog. "Come near to me." The people obeyed, curiosity and unease driving them closer. Elijah gestured to the broken, ruined altar of the Lord, toppled long ago in arrogance and neglect. With deliberate, unhurried motion, he began to rebuild it stone by stone. 12 stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. Each rock placed was like a drumbeat, a rhythm that built in the hearts of those watching. The prophets of Baal, panting and bleeding, could only stare. When the altar was complete, Elijah dug a trench around it. He placed wood upon the stones, then the sacrifice upon the wood. But he did not stop there. Turning to the people, his voice rose with unexpected force. "Fill 4 jars with water. Pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood."
Gasps rippled through the crowd. Water was scarce, precious in this land's suffering drought. And to drench the wood was madness. It would only prevent any flame from catching. Yet they obeyed. The water cascaded over the altar, soaking the sacrifice, dripping down into the trench. "Do it again," Elijah commanded. The people hesitated, but again they obeyed. Water splashed and poured, soaking the altar until the wood gleamed with wetness. "Do it a 3rd time," Elijah declared. A hush fell. Even the prophets of Baal stopped their mutterings, their eyes wide with disbelief. To waste water in such measure seemed unthinkable, and yet the people obeyed once more. Streams of water drenched the altar, running down into the trench until it was overflowing. The altar, meant to burn, now sat as a mockery of fire itself, cold, wet, impossible. And Elijah stepped back. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching long. The air grew heavy, expectant, thick with the electricity of something vast, unseen and waiting. The prophets of Baal shuffled back, their eyes betraying the first hints of fear. For in the silence, in the calm confidence of Elijah's face, they sensed what was about to come, and it was not in their favor.
Part 3. Fire from Heaven. The crowd pressed in closer, eyes wide, breaths shallow, every sound on Mount Carmel fading into a thick silence that seemed to stretch forever. Elijah stood alone before the drenched altar, the trench brimming with water, the sacrifice glistening under the fading light of day. Every rational mind knew it could not burn, every human hand had stacked the odds against him, and yet Elijah did not tremble. He lifted his face toward the heavens. His voice, steady yet thunderous, broke the silence like a blade. "O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back." The words hung in the air, vibrating with weight. For a heartbeat, nothing stirred. The prophets of Baal smirked weakly, though their laughter caught in their throats. Then it came. From the very heart of the sky, fire descended. Not lightning, not a flicker of flame, but a consuming torrent, a living inferno that ripped open the heavens and crashed upon the altar. The sacrifice ignited in an instant, the soaked wood exploding into roaring flame, the stones themselves hissing and cracking, the trench of water boiling away in violent bursts of steam until not a drop remained. The fire consumed everything.
A cry erupted from the crowd, half terror, half awe. Men and women fell to the ground, faces pressed into the dirt, trembling beneath the raw fury of God made manifest. Their voices rose as one, desperate, overwhelmed. "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" The prophets of Baal staggered back, their faces drained of blood, their voices lost. All their noise, all their madness, all their defiance had led to this, a silence more damning than any blade. They had called for their God to answer. He had not. But Elijah's God had answered with fire. And the fire was not finished. It burned deep into the hearts of the people, igniting a fury, a clarity, a terror. Elijah's voice rang again, fierce as a sword. "Seize the prophets of Baal. Let not one of them escape." The crowd surged like a flood, rage unleashed. The false prophets were dragged, pleading, clawing at the ground. Their voices rose in broken cries as they were carried down to the Kishon Valley. And there, beneath the blood-red sunset, justice fell swift and merciless. Their screams carried across the hills until silence swallowed them, a silence far heavier than before. Back upon the mountain, Elijah stood still, watching. His eyes burned with more than triumph. They burned with the weight of one who had seen heaven's fury unleashed on earth. And as the fire smoke coiled upward into the darkening sky, it carried with it a promise, a warning, and a truth none could deny. The Lord alone is God.